a note taker that's recording, not the Zoom.
Okay, I got it.
Would you like the pledge over?
No, that's all right.
Okay,
Unless you want to.
yes, on the recording, the pledge was said. And now we'll do with the roll call.
Roll call. Councilperson Barney Mendes.
Yeah, here.
Councilperson Brown.
Here.
Councilperson Davis.
Here.
Councilperson Lamb.
Here.
And Supervisor Lifer is absent this evening.
Indeed. I have the honor of filling in as deputy supervisor. First item then would be approving the minutes from 7:10 and 7:17. I have a motion to do that.
I do.
Moved by Leonardo, seconded by Spring. Yep.
Councilperson Barnes Mendes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Yes. We are continuing a couple public hearings that have been on the agenda as more information is gathered. For 2150 Dryden Road, the application for an automotive repair garage. And a continuation of a project at 1400 Dryden Road, application for a self-storage unit. So those will hold over until our next meeting in September. Right now, we are initiating a public hearing at long pause because it's 6:04 and this is supposed to start at 6:05. But time is pretty good. Let's see Jason do that.
Can sing.
We are starting a public hearing at 6:05, a local law to override the tax levy cap. Not that we plan to do that, we may, but we go ahead and do it anyway. Because that's we see this as a unnecessary incursion into local government. So long as 6:04, I think I'm
Serious.
6:05, we got it.
Okay, so Dana, you explain about, I remember Jason explained this before, which was very useful around the tax levy for things like the lighting district in Varna, where we have to do this as like a blanket override, so that if we need to raise an extra $500 in that one district for lighting needs or something, that we can do that. It has to do with the districts, not just the total levy.
It's one of the reasons, or if we have some unforeseen need. Right now we don't, but something could come up.
Yeah.
And we don't feel like we should be in a straitjacket from Albany.
And it's
On
my
this issue.
understanding, we do this every year.
Every year that I've been here. Yeah. Well, yes, that was passed. The other year, I think it was passed in 2014. If I remember right. So we'll go over the actual legislation when we get into our other segments of the agenda. Right. So announcements. Do we have any announcements?
I guess, is that the end of the public hearing on the tax levy?
Do people have questions?
Yeah,
Okay.
We're opening, sure.
Bring it on.
If
I
there's,
didn't know if we can comment or.
yeah, you're welcome. All right, sure. We have a list of people who want to comment on this.
I thought that list was for citizens privilege at the end. So we're having a public hearing on the tax levy and
The tax cap, not the levy
the
itself.
local law, you're
Yeah.
proposing passing a local law to go beyond the mandated cap in the municipal law,
That if,
3C.
that when we go to do budget, that we could, if we had to, not necessarily, whether it's the whole thing or just a partial thing, like the lighting district.
Yeah, so what I'm hearing is it's a matter of convenience,
Exactly.
okay, whether you need to or not, you're gonna do it. Just because you might need to.
Yeah, as a
You're
tool.
doing both. My take as a taxpayer is that this shouldn't be a matter of convenience, it should be a matter of necessity. We ought to be able to know, you know, what it is, why you may have to exceed the cap.
Yep.
So that's my concern, is it sounds to me, while we do it every year, and we might have to do it, and we might not. And I just, as a taxpayer, I have a problem with that. So,
Get that.
so I'm hearing about, you know, a lighting district, that could be a reason, but can you folks forecast some reasons why you may have to exceed the cap?
Yeah, I mean, a number of scenarios. We don't have a big budget, but if, say, one major vehicle for the highway department went out and they had an immediate need, and our highway budget goes up and it goes down year to year. Sometimes it seems unpredictable. And if there were a need that the highway superintendent came to us with at budget season and say, hey, look, our engine went out on our number one snowplow. We're not gonna make it through the winter without a new snowplow. That would be a necessity. I didn't say the word convenient. I think that, not sure where that came from, but
Well, it came from me.
yeah, sure. I mean, that,
Sharing that
I'm not sure.
I'm proposing to go past a municipal law that has a cap.
Yeah.
On the tax levy. And I'm hearing you're just doing it from my perspective, out of convenience, and then you may need to exceed it when the law says all the municipalities in New York are to have a cap at 2% for the tax levy, as far as a 2% increase. And I think it ought to be out of necessity and not out of, you know, we might or we might not.
Sure.
That tells me, you know, as a taxpayer, that there's some concerns about the budgeting process if we can't budget well enough.
Fair point. Well, I think if you look at it,
And we're in a position where assessments have increased
Yeah.
significantly. And I'm a resident at 12 Highland Drive in Dryden. And I'm sorry, I'm John Bailey. And we pay village tax, town tax, county tax, and school taxes. And
we will do.
that's becomes a significant number. And I just want local government to understand that, you know, the resources of the individual aren't, you know, unending. Like, government can just, you know, raise the funds, create the money.
Yeah, the reason, because I've only been through this twice, so I'm not the guru here. But what I've learned the last couple years through the process is there are deadlines that the state imposes on where we have to turn things in. And we don't start getting the requests like you mentioned, like from Rex about like the trucks. So we have a very, very short amount of time. So if we wait to do it until we have the paperwork, it will make it a very tight turnaround to get all y'all to come in here to hear the updates before we do it. So it's not an attempt to try to not be respectful of the funding. It's just trying to be efficient. I don't want you to feel like anyone's being flip or disrespectful of the needs.
And I think that's why some of us are here, is just to gain an understanding
Yeah.
of, you know, why this process happens. Obviously, there is a municipal law that has a cap, so there's gotta be a way for all the local governments and the state to deal with this. And I don't know as everyone's passing a local law because we don't know
Right.
what the state is.
so it's a state law that was passed that enacted a across the board 2% tax cap. You know, this is Albany basically telling us how we finance our government needs. A lot of us didn't like that at the time. I think we had a governor at the time that was trying to take a populist position and look like he's doing something while the state budget was not being kept at 2%. Was it? No. And so it was kind of like, we're telling you, but don't look at what we're doing. And I didn't like that formula at the time. However, when the law was passed, it was, given an escape hatch. If your local legislature with a supermajority of votes and to go exceed this state mandate, then you can. So it was an odd statute. I think it remains an odd statute, unpopular. This doesn't mean we're planning to exceed it. And I think if you look at our track record with the budget in the town of Dryden, we've been fairly steady. We've had years where we actually cut the tax rate because assessed value have gone up, and we recognize that. We have a pretty consistent and open budget process. You're welcome to attend any of our budget hearings. And I think, for the most part, we've kept taxes pretty steady and not exponential. That said, I know the burden with county and school taxes. What we get to do in town government is grow the tax base. We don't get all the benefits of that, but when we have infrastructure in the town, which could be anything from the investments at the Border Station on Lower Creek Road, or I'm sorry, Fall Creek Road. No.
Ellis Hollow.
Hollow Creek Road. Working with Berkshire Hathaway on that investment, getting them to improve the quality of air being emitted. They actually met our demands, but it was very expensive, resulted in several $100,000 more per year coming into our town, and even more to the school districts and to the county. The solar projects in town here resulted into about 70,000 more a year for the town, and even more for the school districts, and even proportionally for the county. So there are things that we can do. We don't get necessarily rewarded as much as the other taxing authorities to reduce your tax burden. And that's something that's front and foremost for us, because it's a quality of life issue. If you can't afford it, you won't stick around.
Mr. Lamb,
I just want to make sure I've answered this
Yeah.
gentleman's question.
This is an open forum. I think good to have conversations. Yeah.
I think that, and I certainly this happens at the county level, and they passed a resolution early on in the year, much earlier than the meeting. And I think that expediency, which is essentially what you're talking about here, is inappropriate in this arena. That it's only appropriate to pass a resolution that you're going to exceed the cap when you're going to exceed the cap. And if it means that it's a little bit inconvenient for you to be able to arrange it, I think that that's unfortunate for you, but it's the proper procedure for the public who pays the taxes. They need to be able to have an opportunity to attend the meeting when they can see what the budget is, and they can see where the reasons are, and then they can comment with some knowledge of the reason that you're asking for an increase. And to suggest, by the way, that you not raise taxes, your tax rate, of course, is a function, obviously, of a mathematical formula, which is group assessment. And you can keep the tax rate the same and still increase people's taxes significantly. Not everybody did that.
And that's why we cut the property tax rate.
About 1 cent.
Yeah. But to be clear, we're not trying.
But there was an intentional lag, but about 1 cent, so you could say the tax rate. That was kind of insulting.
Okay. All right.
So,
Anyways, I don't think it's a good idea to pass it now. I think we should wait, and when you need it, pass it then.
All right.
I feel the same way about the county. The county is exactly the same.
totally hear you. I want to make one more, just an FYI, back to you for a second. One thing also to clarify is we don't do the assessments. It's a county thing. So we get a lot of feedback about it, but it's not, the town doesn't have any input. We don't.
All aware of that.
Yeah, I know you know, but I'm just making sure everybody knows. The other thing I want to just share with you, again, things I've learned the last couple of years, and regardless of how we vote or anything like that, is one of the things I've learned, and I give a lot of credit to everyone here and people in the years past is the town does not pad anything. So the other municipalities may give themselves a little more fund balance or a little more cushion for, so that they can react to things like the truck going down. We budget really, really tight. So we don't leave ourselves much wiggle room for that. So that's part of why we go into it this way. I just want you to know that so that you have the background on it.
It doesn't, this doesn't really make any sense because you're talking about, oh, we're gonna spend $500.
I'm not trying to argue it. I'm just giving a little back.
You're talking about the truck, a motor going down the truck or a failure of a vehicle or something like that. That's going to happen during the budget year, not when you budget, okay? The budgets are made in advance of the anticipated expenses.
Okay.
And it won't make any difference, whether you have a truck that goes down 5 months into the budget year. So your argument, I think, is just, it's a fallacy. That doesn't make any sense.
Are there any other comments on this topic?
Please.
It might be helpful just for people online or here who haven't actually seen this written, just to read it, I'll read it really quickly. I don't know. So it's the intent of the local law to override the limit on the amount of real property taxes that may be levied by the town of Dryden County, Tompkins, pursuant to general municipal civil law section 3C, and allow the town of Dryden County, Tompkins to adopt the town budget for A, town purposes, B, fire protection districts, and C, any other special or improvement districts. So that sounds to me like a blank check. Maybe I'm misunderstanding what the article, if the articles impose a cap. Are there any caps to say that if you go over, you can't exceed by, it can't be a 1%, 2%, 3%? Because the way this is written tells me if you'd like to, because you foresee an emergency, you can raise by 50%, or am I missing something? Is there a cap in there to limit you?
No, I mean,
So it is a blank check. You can, if it's yes to any and all amount over the allowed.
well, I mean, we're not gonna budget. We're not gonna make stuff up. I mean, we have a budget that, we explain what the different accounts are for. Any taxing authority has this sort of,
Oh, I get that.
responsibility to be stewards and.
Well, if you felt that you needed to go over my great experience, Corey, that putting this closer to budget season when the public has a chance to actually see what the projected needs are, and you're talking about vehicles and gas, emergency accidents should be covered by insurance, and if you have vehicles that need replacement, that agency should have already put that in the budget, and that's the point of the budget. But I agree with the holding this in closer proximity, and to Ms. Buck's point, I think we would be willing to come into a public hearing later in the year. My point is, I think everyone would feel more comfortable if there were a cap like in school budgets, like we are going to increase the no more by 3%. I would absolutely oppose any that allowed 3 people at 60% of a 5-person board, so 3 people to vote on a tax increase that could go 100% up. That just sounds, this defies a lot to me. But so thank you for confirming that you're voting on something with no cap. You're considering voting. Last year, I think, so those of us who pay attention to the budgets get confused because budgets that are approved and posted on your website in October change in November and December, and they'll get updated, so kind of fall out of the loop. And I think I think I've heard from the town board themselves that there's a concern about corporate interest in real estate. We're now at a time when major employers in town are cutting jobs, laying people off, hiring freezes. So those incremental increases in the context of not having jobs, I think you need to consider what that might do for people having to sell and opening the door to corporate interest. So I don't take this lightly, for many reasons. I also, it would be helpful if I heard what a 2% or 5% interest in dollars actually would look like, what kind of buffer you're talking about. I don't think anybody would have a problem, like in small amounts of it could be raised, but no cap, that's scary. I also don't think that anyone in the state government, and partisan business aside, would appreciate the reference to a 2% cap. is being held hostage. Like you're being held hostage by the state of New York. I think it's a consideration for the economic status of the residents of the state, the taxpayers of Dryden. So that's, I think, yes, and you have forum to vote on this with the supervisor absent?
Yes.
Good job.
Okay, thank you. I'm happy to have you address any of that.
I think most of it's been addressed. You know, the idea that, you know, you want us to have a self-imposed cap is noted. I see your concern there. We balance our budgets and we justify and we explain why we tax where we are. We're willing to be held accountable. That's the process. We don't need a superficial process imposed on us from Albany. Nobody imposes that process on Albany from above. Nobody imposes that process on the federal government. There are municipal governments across the country that don't have this sort of thing. This was done, I think, out of a political positioning, if you will, about a decade ago. We didn't like it at the time, and a lot of government didn't. We don't need Albany telling us what to do with our budget. We certainly want to hear from you. If you think we're misspending funding, or if you think we're taxing too much, let us know. Let us know where you want to see cuts. But don't, you know, expect us to take our marching orders from Albany when it comes to budget.
It's need the window of potentially a 50% increase on our taxes, and in my opinion, if you can't come up with anything that makes sense, and I'm sure Cassie could say what a 2, 4, 5, 6% increase would look like in dollars. But if you expect me I'm saying, like, as a resident of the town, and I would expect other taxpayers, like, taxpayers who are sitting here and who may not be here, to think that, to expect you to set a reasonable cap, and if you can't say, we're not gonna go over budget by, well, we might need to go over budget 25%, that to me says you're not doing a job.
It's more likely that it's something like the water district or something like that, but I hear you. So will it cause a hardship if we wait until we do budgets? And
No, we're doing this tonight.
we have to do it
We do
tonight.
this because it is budget season. It may not seem like it for others, but this is our budget season. We're asking our departments right now to prepare their budgets, and this is a part of the protocols that we use. I understand that it's not to your liking, but it's what we've developed, and I think if you look at our past budgets and you look at our increases or decreases, they've been pretty consistent, and I think that's one of the reasons the voters and the residents of this town entrust us with this job, is that we've been very steady, we've been very open. On the agenda tonight is an audit. We bring in an auditor now every year. That wasn't the case previously, to audit the entire Dryden budget. So it's not just us saying up here that we're good. We bring in a third party, and we're not afraid to open our books to anybody. So if you really want to see what the town is doing and how we're spending our money, it's all out there. It's in fact in this 75-page report that's on the meeting items for tonight. So if you have any question about what we're doing, it's all out there. If you think we got our values wrong, it's all out there, but you got to trust us to do the work in the meantime, because
Those things, and I can appreciate the effort that goes into it. That has nothing to do with a common sense approach to setting a cap. Like, you can all be good people, you can be on your path to, salvation if you deem that that's your path, but 50% is 50%. I'm asking why there's no cap. Like, that would devastate your town. If you believe that you would not do something so irresponsible because you're fiscally prudent, then I would say, why not put that in red?
I can,
Red.
all right.
And
We get your point. All I can say is that it's an extraordinary practice. I don't know about any other government that willingly imposes that on themselves because they want to be able to respond to the needs of their communities. We don't need training wheels put on us by Albany. The federal government doesn't have a cap, and I haven't heard you criticize that. The state government,
That's a problem.
the state government doesn't have a cap. So I think you're just, you might be zeroing in on this because the governor, again, a decade ago or more, put this in place to force us to have conversations like this, which we can do. But it's an artificial construct that was put on us by a former governor. And we live with it, and it forces us to come and describe what we're doing, why we're doing it. We're happy to do it. But our, we have an approach to budgeting and we've used this for years, and this is our process. And I recognize that some of you don't like it. That's noted. But I think our track record on budgeting and being prudent and balancing our budget and growing the local economy is out there for everyone to review. And for the most part, it's a success story in this town that we're very proud of. All right. I think everyone's had, somebody who has in common, you're wrong.
Couple years ago, you all patted yourselves on the back on how you decreased tax revenue. It's small. You found the money in reserve. Across the board, the subsidies were up 10%. My personal taxes, because of that, were up 9% per child. What'd you do with the windfall?
Wasn't our money.
You'd have to tell me what year you're talking about.
But the county assessments went up.
Yeah.
We ended up, what we did is we lowered
The tax rate.
the rate so that the town taxes didn't go up the same way the county ones did. So we didn't collect more money. We changed the calculation so to counter what the county had done.
But your levy went up.
No, our levy went down.
No, your levy went up 10%. The rate went down.
Our rate went down.
The levy, which is the amount of money that we have to pay for, went up by 10%.
Not to the
10%
town,
in a year when the inflation was 2%.
to the county.
No, the town. Now, look at your own budget. Look at your town budget. Your town budget, 10%.
3 years ago.
Oh, 3 years ago. I thought I meant that last year. 3 years ago.
So we could have this conversation 3 years ago. And you can keep it. So.
It happens. What some of the concerns here are that there are people from the town, Village of Grove, for instance, and John is one. Our taxes have gone up 50%. Our taxes in the last 4 years, more than 50%, I think, actually, in some cases, but on average, 50%. So it's not as if we are concerned
Yeah, this
that
money
people are not
belongs-
able to pay the rates that you're imposing on the people. We are at a limit. We've reached the edge.
I agree, we're overburdened with taxes. You gotta do your thing, but just realize that the money is not a bottomless pit. And we've had enough, and you're that, the sliver in there of all the other ones, but we can't take any more. We can't take any more taxes. Period.
And I'm hearing a concerning thing when the part of the leadership here expresses that they don't like the law from the state of New York. So we're gonna take the way out that's in the law every year because we don't like the law of the state. You think it's wrong and no other government has to do it. And that to me is very concerning to then agree to allow you folks to then not have a limit. It causes a trust issue. You don't like the state setting a minimum on you. So we're just gonna say, we're gonna do this vote so that we can have the wherewithal to raise the levy to what we may need. That's concerning. When I hear that from government that says, well, we don't really like the law. So that's why we're gonna do this. Nobody else has to do it, so why should we? That's concerning to me.
Okay, I get it. We understand you want us to be,
You're saying trust us based on past experience. And I don't think that's a good way to do business.
how else do you get trust if not past experience?
Well. My concern is, I'm hearing.
How is trust built? I don't understand your argument there.
The argument is, I've heard you say you don't like the law that was passed in 2012. And why should we be constrained when nobody else is? And that raises a red flag that kind of says, you know, we're gonna, you know, we wanna be able to spend what we wanna spend.
Well, first off, hold on. Hold on. So.
And trust us.
I know, so I wanna be clear on a couple things. Because I don't want it to come off, I don't want you feeling like people are saying, oh, we're gonna spend what we wanna spend. The reality is we ran into crazy inflation, we all did, we know we did after COVID. We're seeing it again, starting now, right? We know that's coming, people are worried about tariffs, people are worried about housing losses, all of the stuff that we're talking about, right? The services that the town provides, plowing roads, you know, getting watered districts and all of these things. It's not like that's what we're paying for. So, you know, if we're in a situation where we can't, where it's gonna be 2.3% or 2.1% and we can't do that, then we're looking at cutting services. And so those are the kinds of things that
Yeah.
we want to deliver what you need. It's not like there's shareholders here who are gonna go and buy their plane.
That this should be not voted on, so you can go ahead and do it now whether you need it or not. This should be something of necessity that you articulate to the taxpayers why you need to increase.
So
the
we
tax
did-
budget.
so-
We're just.
So we
Just
did that.
gonna go ahead and
No.
use the authority to do it, because you might need to and you might.
So let me offer some clarity on that. So all this is saying, when we get to budget season, if we have to go over, we still have to vote on the budget. People still come and provide input. It doesn't mean we pass the budget. It just means that if we get to that point, we don't have to change the law in the middle of that piece.
Why are we doing it now?
I think we're all trying, what I'm hearing from everyone was a viewpoint, it's a concern with the lack of information as to what closer to the time of the year.
Yeah.
It's a lack of tact. And it's really, you have broad powers in any project, you can say you wanna fund the bridge all next year, and that would fall under this budget. How is trust built? Trust is built within limits. Neighbors build fences not because they hate each other, but because it helps. And, you know, I don't see that any of those things as being unreasonable, so to hear some folks laughing up there or saying, we're just gonna do it tonight. Okay, that's fine, that does not build trust, just for the record, that does not build trust. So,
We're looking for compromise, but we
Mhm.
understand that you have to pass the resolution, you're gonna go over the cap. But if you have the cap in place, knowing that you have a 2% limit on the amount that you're going to spend, okay? Then you work to that goal. If you have no cap, you work to whatever it is you set. So that's the advantage of waiting until you're farther into this process. Compromise.
Is any more comments?
Everyone done? All right, then I'm gonna close the hearing. And move to pass this local law. Just pulling it up. Oh, I think I already,
It's right there.
who did that?
Okay. Is it right?
Right.
I think,
All right, I don't think I need to read this whole thing, do I?
oh, if you want to.
I don't. This is a thing that, this is part of our budgeting process, part of our planning process. We've heard your comments. We understand what your point of view. We just have a different approach and, we're accountable. The process is open. You're welcome to attend any of the budget hearings, the department head hearings, the budget hearing itself. And when we go to pass this, if there's a part of the budget or part of the process you object, this is a give and take process. We don't like being told what to do by Albany. So if there's a program that comes up, maybe we decide there's a special need that comes up between now and then, something you all care about. This will give us the flexibility to respond. I understand that you feel that we shouldn't have that flexibility. We politely disagree. I respect what you have to say, but like I said, we have an approach, and this is how we go about our process. So I'm gonna move this local law and ask for a second.
A second.
This person, Morris Mendez,
Yes.
Councilperson Buck,
Yes.
Person Davis.
Yes.
Yes. Thanks.
I do want to encourage people to come and be here for the budgets. We do
Okay,
vote on each one of those
You're
things.
going anywhere on the next item on the agenda. So the next item on the agenda is report from the planning department.
You're not gonna have the audit report?
Oh, whoa. Got so excited. Is Amanda with us?
I didn't see.
Amanda's not here this week.
Oh, that's
It
right.
is, it is.
All right, who do we have from Insero? We have you. I'm sorry, we didn't meet on the way in.
Oh, it's all right.
Okay.
Yeah.
I made a plug for the fact that you were coming and the documents that are posted on the town website. All I can say is it's very, very impressive, detailed.
So I brought copies of the executive summary if you all would like one.
I would, sure.
How many copies did you bring?
Yeah.
I did. How many more ones? So I.
Thank you.
We want to offer. Yeah, if anyone would like to take one?
No. They're on our
They're
website.
online.
They're public.
What's your name again?
Evan Cleveland.
Evan Cleveland. Thanks for joining us.
So, ready for me to begin?
Yeah, this is really great and
So,
well,
okay, sorry. I'm Evan Cleveland, audit partner with Insero Company CPAs, here to present the results of the 2024 audit. I'm gonna work entirely off the executive summary. I do not intend on going into the 70-page report. Unless there are other questions, I can address them.
okay, can you move the microphone?
Yes, sir.
And can folks hear them okay? So it's kind of important. If you're interested in our budgeting process and what we do with your money, this is the discussion you want to hear.
So the first page of the executive summary is a snapshot of the results. So we're issuing an unmodified opinion on the 2024 financial statements. That's
Excuse me, I can't hear because of the talking in the hall. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Just wait a minute, so. Where'd you come from? Where'd you travel?
Ithaca.
Oh, good.
Yeah, so we previously attended via Zoom and we told Amanda it'd probably be good if I was here live because it's not too far of a drive for me.
Yeah. That's excellent.
So page 1 of the executive summary is a snapshot of the audit results. We're issuing an unmodified opinion on the financial statements. That's the technical term for a clean opinion. Means your assets, liabilities, net position, revenues, and expenses are all fairly stated in all material respects. We also perform an audit under government auditing standards, and that's a report on internal control over financial reporting. That's also a clean, unmodified opinion. There were no material weaknesses, significant deficiencies, or non-compliance of note associated with that report. Additionally, we issue a management comment letter. That comment letter is boilerplate language. It just defines what a deficiency in internal control would be. It has no material weaknesses or significant deficiencies or even other matters to note within that letter. Because the town expended over $750,000 in federal roads, you're required to have a single audit under uniform guidance. Also, unmodified opinion on that report, no material weaknesses, significant deficiencies, or non-compliance. The total federal expenditures are 1.5 million. We audited the COVID capital grants. That was $636,000 that's associated with the broadband fund. And again, no issues associated with that. The next page, we're required to communicate with those charged with governance. At the conclusion of the audit, do so through a specific letter. It's within the packet. It has no comments of concern regarding any of these items. One thing that I will point out, there are a few new accounting standards that were implemented. The letter does note under the qualitative aspects of accounting practices associated with those standards. It's GASB statement number 101, compensated absences, GASB statement 102, certain risk disclosures. Both of those did not have any material impact on the financial statements. So I would just like to note that.
Excellent.
The next page is just a snapshot of your general fund. So this is your main operating fund. We like to go through some of the numbers associated with your main operating fund. So total assets at the end of 2024 were 3.3 million in the general fund. Some fluctuations within that fund. Your cash and investments went down about 1.4 million, and then that was offset by receivables of an increase of 1.6 million. So you have a lot of activity happening in the broadband fund associated with the grants and the capital project with the broadband. So the general fund sort of floats some of those funds over to that fund wallet while the revenue comes in. So it's just timing of when that occurred near year end. Your total liabilities were 431,000, so up about 60,000. Slight increase in accounts payable and accrued liabilities. So it's mostly based on timing of when invoices show up near year end and what the service period was for. Total fund balance was 2.8 million within the general fund. Majority of that is an unassigned of 2.3, so that went up about 350,000 from the previous year. Still have some funds within your capital reserve, 152,000. So funded that a little bit, and then also interest earnings are very good for most municipalities, taking advantage of some pretty good rates. And then assigned is your appropriated for next year's budget. So what you're planning on using of your fund balance for next year's budget. Your total revenue was 2.3 million, went up 634,000. Some increases in real property taxes and tax items, about 328,000. State aid, there were some conservation grants of about 104,000, and then federal aid received some additional grants for watershed from the Department of Agriculture. Then within other, that went up a lot, earned about $100,000 more in interest. So really taking advantage of the rates, and is really making sure that you're getting good rates on your cash funds. Total expenditures were 3 million, up 384,000. So this year had some more equipment purchases within general governmental support, about 300,000. And within your employee benefits, the ERS, employees retirement, went up about 30. So state tells you what you're going to pay and you pay it. So not really anything you can do about that. And at the bottom is your other governmental funds. Pretty consistent amongst all the other funds, except I'll point out the broadband fund, which is at the bottom. So that's associated with the capital project. Has more activity this year. Last year was the first year of the fund, and now more is happening within that fund for the broadband project. Next two pages just show your total governmental activities revenue and total governmental activities expenses. So this is the entirety of the government, all of your funds combined with your long-term assets and long-term liabilities. Majority of the town's funding comes from real property taxes and tax items. I looked at a few other towns and they do live within the 70%-ish range, so pretty consistent with the other towns that we do audit. Did have a slight fluctuation this year within operating and capital grants. That was the conservation state grants that was in there, so that kind of changed year over year.
That changed the size of the pie slices.
Exactly, yeah.
What were grants?
So governmental activities expenses, again, is all your funds combined. Majority of your expenses are within your transportation fund, actually exactly the same percentages for all of the functions. So obviously it's maintenance of roads. That's a big thing within that fund. Or within the town as a whole. Final page is just current standards and future accounting standards. Yep.
Now, that one caught my attention, and this has to do with the consistency thing that I spoke about earlier.
Yep.
I would think that, seeing these different expenses so steady year to year is a good sign. That's that you want to see, because when I look at budgets, I look at, aberrations or events or, unusual things and I just wanted confirmation from you that, when you see something like that, that's one of the things you're looking for.
Yeah, consistency is good.
Steadiness
Part of
budgeting.
Part of generally accepted accounting
Right.
principles, consistency. So we do like to see that as auditors.
You don't want to see, they did what?
Well, it gets back to the discussion we were just having, this concern about, well, what if we spike our taxes and well, we don't, we've got a track record here that shows we don't spike our expenses.
Yeah.
And that's, that's what builds trust. Thanks.
So the final page is current and future accounting standards. So the town adopted. Oh, maybe I misspoke. 102 is next year. 100 and 101. 100 was just associated with accounting changes and error corrections, so that didn't have any impact. That would be if you had a correction of prior year financial statements needed to restate, or major fund becomes a non-major fund, or vice versa. Just presentation for the most part. And then compensated absences, that just changed around leave times and accounting for that. So employees have sick and vacation accruals, and it looks at future and historical trend rates of usage of sick and vacation time. And there was really no significant impact from what was done under the previous standard versus what is done under the current standard. Then we've got a few more coming up over the future. 102, which is certain risk disclosures just associated with concentrations of revenue or constraints on raising revenue. So things like your debt limit, the tax cap, those sorts of things. 103 is the financial reporting module. So that's going to change around what's called the management discussion and analysis. It's understood that it's written in lingo that an auditor would understand, and a first-time user of the financial statements will look at that and ask, what does this mean? So it's going to change that around quite a bit and make it more understandable.
Is there, since you guys already look at how we do it, do you think it'll be a big shift for our team or?
No, mostly us.
Okay.
The only thing that really would affect your team is budgetary schedules. So it requires you to disclose any significant variations between your original budget and your modified budget, and as well as your modified budget to your actual.
Right.
So we'd tell Amanda what would be material that you would need to describe. Yeah.
We need to do it anyway.
And then 104 is just associated with disclosures of leased assets and assets held for sale, not really expected to have an effect on the town. We asked Amanda for a significant amount of things, and it's really reflected in this audit report of positive opinion and no internal control issues. And we really appreciate all of her efforts. And every year she gets better at what she's doing as the complexity of the town increases with the broadband fund. So we really appreciate all of her efforts, and it's too bad she's not here for me to thank her in person, but I'll make sure I let her know. And with that, I'll open it up to any questions on the audit report, or anything associated with the audit.
No, this is beautiful. Clean.
How does this compare to others that you see? I know you can't name any by names, but most of the audits we do are clean opinions.
some are not, very few. Generally, no findings is very good. Sometimes we do have comments for various entities, and it's very good when you have no comments.
Oh, well, he's doing that. I just want to say thank you. I know that with other hats on, I see people get really worried when they say audits. And I personally see auditors as a very valuable partner. So thank you for all that you guys do.
Thank you. Yeah, I know the state auditors do give us a bad name.
Yeah, I guess the thing that popped it for me was the assets, and I think it's mentioned in
Yeah.
a few places, but that our assets went up significantly, and I think 4B of the report. And primarily that's due to the investments in the fiber system.
Yes.
Right. And if at such time we convert to a LLC and spend the Dryden Fiber off from the town books, then I guess our assets would go down
Correct.
considerably then as well. And that would be reflected in the report.
That would be a few years out, though.
Couple of years down the road.
Yeah.
No, I mean, that's our goal. After we have a big federal state grant that we're working on. Once that's spent, that's when we start having the
Yeah, we
discussion
have
about
to finish the grant.
an LLC. I just think this is a great just documentation of what we've been working on, and people want updates on the bridge projects. They're in here. Projects on the water quality improvement grant from New York State DEC to the town highway department. Also our lighting, LED lights and various projects and grants that we received. It's a good description of what we have brought in and how we're spending it. And we've been in a bit of a role the last couple of years in terms of receiving state and federal grants. And so I think that's another reason we feel it's important to have your organization audit us. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you. All right, now.
Okay. Well, the monthly update is on the website, and really a couple of the items are already on further down the agenda. The only thing I'll bring attention to is that we did recertify our pro-housing stance. So the New York State recertified us. We have that pro-housing community endorsement, and this enables us to go after certain pockets of money from state government.
Yeah, that was first established, what, last year?
Yeah, we started last year, and this year is.
That gives us, access to additional grant funding.
Mhm.
That's great. Any comments to Ray on his report?
Thank you, Ray.
I know we've got a draft site plan. Is that what we have from the Cardinal Drive? Included in tonight's documents.
So further down,
Yeah.
11E is gonna be that, or no, 11F
We'll
is gonna
talk
be
about
that.
that in a moment. And we can talk about the town's role in that, I guess then. All right, well, thank you. And now we're joined by Mr. David Makar, Executive Director, Dryden Fiber.
Hello, good evening. Can you hear me?
We can.
Yes.
All right, great. So thanks for having me. I sent a report earlier today. If I can share my screen, I can maybe display it there on the wall. I've requested sharing.
You have been allowed.
Excellent. All right, so this is the month of July report, which I know was over 3 weeks ago, but given the timing of that month and this report, a number of things have happened. We'll talk about those two during our time together. The highlights as of August 1st is we now have 452 paying customers. In the last 21 days, we've added a handful more, but we did add 20 more in July. We had 50 inbound requests from the marketing we've been doing. Monthly revenue for July was $24,500. Year to date was $138,000. We are on track right now for about $290,000 in revenue in 2025. Now, as a reminder of where we were from 2021 through 2024, across those 4 years, we collected only $62,000. So we're going to collect about 5 times that amount this year compared to the first 4 years of the project. As you might know, in 2023, when I started helping out with marketing, we only had 8 customers. So going from 8 customers and the revenue of those 8 customers each month to 450, substantial difference in the entire project. One item that's not on here that did happen in August was Deputy Supervisor Lamb and I met with an economics professor, or a professor who studies economic impact of fiber projects. And one thing I want to point out that's probably easiest to see is we are on track to bring in $290,000 in revenue. Now, that is because the average customer pays about $45. That's our lowest tier. But the average customer is also saving about $45 a month from what they were paying previously. So an easy way to look at the direct economic impact financially is that while we are on track to bring in $290,000 in revenue, that's how much money we're saving the customers of the platform in 2025. So as of right now, nearly $300,000 is what is not going to other providers that are primarily leaving New York State, leaving Tompkins County, definitely leaving Dryden. And ultimately, an additional $300,000 in the pockets or pocketbooks or wallets of the customers of Dryden Fiber to spend however they might like, the cafe, the restaurants in town, doing household projects, going to the Agway. Like, that's $300,000 that is now being kept in town instead of going somewhere else. So it was important to say that because beyond all the, as you heard from the audit, all the work that we're doing to build this network and to provide this service, and that people can have more choice and have more flexibility for work from home and telehealth and education, there is a direct financial impact on the customers by paying about half as much per month in their monthly internet service.
Yeah, I think this professor, I think her name was Amanda Weinstein. She had interesting perspective, not just on that, but also on time saved. If we can have our residents spend less time driving to get to broadband services, or saving time with their home businesses because they've got better access, or doing telehealth, that we're saving people time and improving quality of life at the same time, while seeing money stay in the community in terms of money not spent, but also the cost of Dryden Fiber going to a local entity, Dryden Fiber, not going to another state. So it's interesting to get her perspective.
Yeah, we'll be working together over the next few years to study the total economic impact. This dollars saved was the easiest one to, I hope, for the town board to understand and show the impact right away. But over time, as we can measure jobs, job creation, people who are able to work from home, like average income increasing, if people want to work from home, they don't have to leave the region to get a job. This is a lot of other opportunity we'll be tracking over the next few years. We continue to hold at 1,800 parcels, which is just over 30% of the town. And for the municipal infrastructure program, we have increased the project total to 12.55 million, which is a $2.65 million increase from where we were a year ago. This is due to right sizing the per mile cost of the project, as well as adding 14 miles of missing fiber from the initial plan. There was just some gaps in the previous design. We worked closely with the Connect All office to demonstrate the need to increase the budget to reach the goal. So we wouldn't be in a position a year from now, near the end of the project, where we ran out of money. And they looked at everything we provided with maps and with budgets and planning, and they agreed, and they have given us the verbal to increase our budget to this new number. We're following their next step, which is the Empire State Development Board meets in September. There'll be 2 hearings in early October. Then we'll receive the grant dispersal agreement. This is a grant that is reimbursement grant, which means we have to spend the money first and then pay all of our vendors and then send those canceled checks, invoices to New York State. And then New York State will reimburse us. So upon the receipt of this grant disbursement agreement, we'll sign it, or we'll ask the town board to approve having Supervisor Leifer sign the agreement. Then the next day we'll submit our first reimbursement request, and sometime in early Q1 2026, we'll get our first reimbursement, which should be around $2 million. Following that, there's 3 more tranches in the spring and the late summer, and then the last one will be at the end of next year. So making a lot of progress. It's good to have this partnership with the state. They're keeping us really focused on the details and the importance of reaching these 2,700 parcels. These 2,700 parcels are qualified for this grant because they either are unserved or underserved, or they are on the way to reaching an unserved or underserved address in the town of Dryden. Unserved and underserved is the FCC definition for people who have only a dial-up option at their home, and that's the unserved. And the underserved definition is basically DSL, and those are the fastest speeds that they can get at their home. The MIP program is to bring everyone up to a fiber speed, broadband speed, through terrestrial or through wired services to the home. In the 2 towns, town of Dryden, town of Caroline, that are partnered together in this project, there are 474 households today that their top wired speed is dial-up. In addition, there's about 74 where their top speed is DSL. So it's 544 households out of the 2 towns that are limited by either dial-up or DSL. And this will allow them and every house we pass on the way to get to them to have fiber optic service. Any questions about customers, where we are, or the MIP project?
No, I just want to say thank you. We talked about saving time. We talked about it providing opportunities for work. And also, I can't imagine trying to be a middle school, high school student without access to the internet in today's times. So thank you for everything you guys are doing out there every day.
Well, thank you. We're doing what the town board has asked us to do. So thank you for deciding to make good for the residents of the town who, even today in 2025, are stuck without an affordable solution. Some of these residents who cap out at dial-up were given options to get broadband to their home from the current incumbent provider that has coaxial cable, without naming names, with a price tag of $5,000 to $25,000, which is just not affordable to any family. So it was the long time negotiations and work of the town board to say, we're going to do it ourselves. So thank you for taking that step. As you know, we are the first, and I believe the only municipally developed ISP that's not just running, but also running the ISP, not just backing another ISP to come in and build it in the town, but this is municipal owned and operated, which is unlike anything else in New York State.
I noticed that you've hooked up nearly 500 people, all of which switched basically from another carrier. But there's only 4 people that have actually were underserved or unserved in that out of that nearly 500 people, which is apparently the intent of this socialist project. So it's true. Why only 4 people?
Right, we're not actually doing a back and forth about this. This is a presentation, so I appreciate your comment. Thank you, David. Do you have more to share?
Yeah, just want to give you an update on where we are with some items to do with legal. This is the highest number of contracts and legal agreements we're in the project history. I want to just touch on some of these so you know what's going on. Some of these will be coming before you today and in the near future. The first is the contract bid document for major projects. This is a 70-page document that explains how we will bid out the work going forward to our contractors who will do the construction as well as the splicing. This is with our attorneys, Phillips Lytle. The next one is the master service agreement for electrical make-ready. That is for the electricians, the locally employed electricians who will come in and do the electrical make-ready work to get the telephone poles ready for us to attach to them. That one, I believe, actually got signed last week. This, as I said, is a report from earlier in the month. Auditors for the MIP project financials, that also, I believe, was moved last week. Due to this being a New York State funded project, at least a portion of it, they requested us to have an audit selected. We're actually working with the same company that does the town audit to audit this project as we send in each of these reimbursement requests. The Caroline Hut construction bid, sent out the information about that maybe earlier today, but that's been going on for about 2 weeks, requesting bids. We have about 15 different companies that want to come in and build that. That's basically the box, the hut, where all the equipment will be for the town of Caroline as part of the project. Finally, audit of network bid process and contract. Our previous provider did not do, engineering partner, did not do a great job of auditing our network as it was being built, which has now left us to have some gaps in knowing where things are. That means when people request service, we have fiber in front of their house, but in some cases we don't know how to connect that fiber to them because we were left without that information. We have a proposal to do the audit. We're just working through the process, given the size of the proposal, if that fits into needing to just do a contract with them as a professional service, or if we have to put that out to bid. Those are the construction related items. On the operations side, we're working through a DigSafe monitoring contract, TBD requirements on that, although that was as of August 1st. As of now, we believe that's professional services, so that does not have to go out for bid. The company that has proposed doing this with us is locally based. They're based in Lansing. Point Broadband IRU, that's on the docket for tonight. This is to sign a 10-year lease to use 3 miles of their network for our backbone. The last two, the Dryden Caroline IMA, that's the intermunicipal agreement that talks about how we work together with the town of Caroline. And finally, the network maintenance and repair agreement. We have to have a partnership with someone to maintain and do repairs on a network should anything happen, whether it's a storm or just routine maintenance to make sure that the servers are up to date and they have the equipment has been tested. So a bunch of these contracts are in different stages of talking with our attorneys, figuring out the policies that have to go through our procurement, all the way through getting these ready for signature by the board.
Can you stick around when we get into the next items on the agenda in case we have any questions about the Point Broadband agreement?
Yep.
Okay, great.
Go ahead.
I have a question for him specifically. About broadband and piece of money that was given to the county. I just want to Dragon's Gate.
Oh, no, that's, the county's has its own grant program going on for broadband, and it's completely separate from what we're doing. Okay.
I would invite you to look at the rest of the deck. I put together this design and construction methodology update that we put together for this summer. It goes through in detail how the project was conducted through the previous engineering firm and how we've changed our methodology. The key pieces are that it was done in very small pieces at a time. Like we would do a couple streets, and then when anything got blocked, the whole project would stop. In the new methodology, this is the old process of doing it. The new process, there are only 4 major pieces to bid out for the MIP project, instead of having to assign out literally dozens and dozens of projects to construction, have those come back in, assign those out to splicing, have those come back in, go out for testing. A single firm based here in New York will be the recipient of this, and they will run the entire project from the construction, putting the fiber on the poles, all the way through the splicing and getting it ready for installations. It should speed up the project by 3 to 4x. We were on track to make this a 10-year project. We're going to drive that down with this new process, ideally to finish next 2.5 years. So we're cutting the overall project time in half and just basically quadrupling the output speed of the project. The first step of that will be this first RFP, which is the Freeville expansion RFP. This goes out from the village of Freeville northeast toward McLean, north along Route 38 and Ed Hill Road, as well as west to West Dryden, Bone Plain Road, West Dryden Road, as well as some of the interconnecting roads, Wood Road, Caswell, all in between there. Heil School, Morris. It's a pretty large area of town that will go out for RFP will go out tomorrow or Friday. We expect it to come back in 15 days. That's the window of procurement bid time that the state has required of us. Then the state has to approve our selection, and then we'll come to the town board at the September 18th town board meeting. From there, once it's approved by the town board, they'll get to work right away and begin splicing parts that are left to splice, as well as all the construction. We feel really good about this new process. It's a lot more clear about what's being worked on, and if there are gaps or there's any blockers as they're building it, they can shift to other parts of the project and keep things moving forward. Any questions on this shift in design methodology?
No, it looks like it'll be much more fluid and efficient.
We'll get to people a lot faster.
We believe so. There are a good number of Dryden residents that are in that unserved and underserved who are in this first package, this Freeville expansion. Bone Plain Road, West Dryden Road, Proville Road, some of the other connecting roads where these residents are literally like dial-up DSL or nothing in the wired sense. So we'll be able to provide them service, and it will be up to half as much, if not more. We have heard some people who are using non-terrestrial solutions that are $125 to $200 a month compared to our speeds, which will be 4 times faster at a quarter of the price. The rest of the report is the team reports. I definitely encourage you to take a look through. If you have questions, let me know. I'll hang around for the other agenda items.
Thank you, David. Great presentation.
Thank you.
So looks like we don't have our county reps with us here tonight, unfortunately, so there will not be a county briefing that I can see. Mike was here last week, of course.
Yep.
So now we're going into the other items, the action items.
Dan Lamb, can I give my report real quick?
Oh, it's you. I was wondering how far it was, and I was looking for a Rick.
I'm disguised.
Well, thank you. I'm glad you joined us, Rick.
Can I go ahead and do my report or?
Please do. If you have some comments to share, some thoughts, we'd love to hear from you.
Okay, as of, I think you all know, we're trying to work on the Varna Sewer project. We are moving forward. Contracts are signed, obviously, and we're working on the bypass right now to go pump the sewer around while we are replacing the line, while De Vicenti's is replacing the line. That seems to be getting some pretty good headway. We'll be probably working on that next week. There's some things we need to do to assist them to get what we've got to get done. We've done a lot of paving, we've got a lot of the roads cleaned up. We will be striping once the micro paving is also completed. We're on our second cutting of the roadside mowing. If you notice the roadsides, we've got them very well cleaned up. We also were working on the washout by the FX Fox Bridge. We completed that this week. Waiting on Todd Bittner to get us some grass seed that he specifically requested down there. Once that gets there, that part of the trail will be completed. We'll have the stone dust on it, and it, if you get a chance to look at it, it turned out very well. I went to the village board meeting last night. The Rotary Club was interested in putting a peace pole up on Main Street down by across from Magway.
Yeah.
So I went and talked to the village and I got their blessing. Then I kind of found out I didn't need their blessing because they turned this all over to the town. So I guess because the bridge is shot, so now we got to fix that. But what else have I got? Oh, the
You shot. What was the last thing you just said?
the bridge is in need of repair on Mill Street, and apparently, according to the village, all the rights to the trails were turned over to the town. So it appears that I've got to get out and repair it.
Okay.
Okay, so,
We're talking about what's the repair needed?
the deck is pretty well shot.
Okay.
I actually said maybe we ought to put the old Freeze Road Bridge there, but that'll be another discussion.
Yeah, don't hold your breath on that.
The gas lines are all run here last month, maybe the month before. All 3 generators are up and running for the pods now. The contractor came last week. I think the shutdown, I didn't hear anything from Dave, so it must have went okay. He did the shutdown, switched over on all 3 pods, probably within a half hour. He did a very good job. They look nice. Everything's running, so we should be up and good to go. I don't think we had any hiccups, according to the contractor. Tim said he felt things went very well. I didn't get any phone calls. I don't know if Dave did. I don't think he did.
They've got to say something.
Yeah, thank you for, I didn't realize you were here. Thank you for taking control of this, bringing the generators to the 3 pops for Dryden Fiber. This is, if we ever lose NYSEG, we'll continue to keep the network up. Everything was done like efficiently. I hadn't had to be involved at all. Rick did a great job managing this project. I did get a chance to be included with the text chain as we were switching over yesterday morning. The first one came through at 5:30 in the morning, and the second one at 6, and I think the third one at 6:30, as we brought on Yellow Barn, Freeville, and the Pinckney Pops. No problem. It was me, Scott Brennan from Integrity, who manages our network, and Tim Smith, our electrical contractor who put these in. Everything went great at Yellow Barn in Freeville. We did learn that the UPS at Pinckney did not flip over, but the server was only offline for about 4 minutes before the power came back up once it was rerouted to the new generator. So we learned a little bit, but no issue for the customer base. And now we are much better positioned versus where we were last November during that ice storm before Thanksgiving. So happy to have this done now in August and not try to mess around with this in the winter. Thank you, Rick.
You're welcome. Awesome. We also installed bollards on the ones that are close to the road, Pinckney Road and Mill Street. So if for any reason anybody decides to slide off the road, they're not going to hit the pods and or the generators. And I think that's about all I've got.
Okay, thanks, Rick. I do have a couple questions myself. About the Peace Pole, working with Dryden Rotary, it's my understanding that that's going to go on the rail trail.
Correct.
And are you aware of the location?
Yes, it's going by the well, there's a gas line. If you go down Main Street, when you leave the town hall, you go down Main Street across from Magway by the ice cream shop. It'll be right behind the gas line. There's a gas vent that sticks up. We're gonna put it between that and the little signboard there. It'll be out of the way for maintenance. It's not a big deal. It's like a 4x4 post and this plastic piece goes over it. I believe you pop a couple screws in the bottom. It won't be in the way of maintenance or anything like that. Seems like a simple install. I mean, obviously you'll have to DSNY it and do all the normal things, but I don't see it being a problem.
Yeah, so that's pretty much our initiative, done by the town, not the village at this point.
Yeah, I got it from Todd Bittner. Apparently it was the Rotary Club came to the rail trail meeting.
Yeah, they came to our July 24th meeting and made a really great presentation.
Yeah, and so Todd passed on to me and I just need to see what the process would be. So we didn't step on any toes. And after I went to the village board, they kind of said, you know, we'll give you permission to do that and you're more than welcome to fix the bridge.
All right.
So, I think that's all I got, unless somebody's got some questions.
I wanted to share that I got a nice compliment for you earlier this week from a constituent, just saying that they took the rail trail near Game Farm Road and rode it all the way to the end and then did the East Hill Trail, met some of your good folks at the Dryden Town DPW fixing a bridge railing on the trail as well. And this guy just had nothing but good things to say about your guys. So I want to pass that along.
Good. Yep, I'm glad they like to chat with the people out there and it's a good thing.
Yeah, it's great that they engage.
And if you guys go down there where that washout was, because we had to build it up so much, we put railings on each side just for protection, and we put some Gabion stone on the entrances so people aren't apt to walk off the edge. So if anybody's got any other suggestions or ideas, we'll probably be painting it, staining it. Once the pressure treated wood kind of dries out, we'll get it painted and stained, but I think it turned out pretty good. It was a lot of work.
That's a very heavily used part of the trail system right now. All right, thank you, Rick.
You're welcome.
Now we are moving on to action items. Without further delay. All right, the first is a resolution to rename the Climate Smart Clean Energy Task Force. And I think this is a really well-written resolution. I don't know who worked on it, but I first want to compliment whoever worked on this.
Actually, Jack Wright, the task force chair, is online.
Who's that?
Hello, how are y'all doing?
Jack, oh, you worked on this. Nicely done.
And I can't take credit for writing this. Gina Cassidy wrote most of the resolution, and then as a task force, we went through it and made a couple word changes. But really, the kudos go to Gina on this one.
Yeah, and it's, when you have a task force, it's usually mission driven, and when you achieve that mission, you don't really need a task force. But the fact that climate issues haven't gone away and climate action has persisted as a need, I think this is a great idea to rename this group, and this resolution really spells it out. I'm tempted to read it because it covers so many nice things. Does anyone mind? Whereas in 2016, the town of Dryden approved a pledge to work towards becoming a New York State climate smart community. And whereas in 2019, the town of Dryden created the Climate Smart Task Force to work towards climate smart communities, certification, and clean energy community grants. And whereas in July 2025, the town achieved the highest level currently possible in climate smart community certification, which is silver. Whereas the town was awarded over $300,000 in clean energy communities grant money and measures taken to reduce greenhouse gas before the program funding was indefinitely paused by New York State in 2024. And whereas the initial objectives of the Climate Smart Task Force have thus been achieved, and whereas it has been scientifically established that the climate all over the world is generally becoming hotter and the atmosphere more carbon saturated, and unpredictable weather events are becoming more frequent and severe. And whereas much more work can be done to protect the town and its residents from the deleterious effects of climate change. Now, therefore, be it resolved, the town board, town of Dryden, state of New York, as follows: that the town hereby creates the Climate Action Committee to continue the work begun by the Climate Smart Task Force towards greenhouse gas reduction and preparing the town to cope with the deleterious effects of climate change through assisting and advising the town and its community with planning, adaptation, and mitigation. And that the purpose of the New York State Climate Smart Communities Program, the Climate Action Committee, will function as the town's Climate Smart Task Force, and the new committee coordinator will continue to be the Climate Smart Communities Coordinator. And that the town appoints the existing members of the Climate Smart Task Force to the Climate Action Committee, and that the town appoints Jack Wright to serve as the Climate Action Committee Chair and Gina Cassidy to serve as the Climate Action Committee Coordinator. Town clerk should certify the adoption of this resolution effective immediately by the town board. There's a lot in that. I really appreciate, what is stated in this and how it's explained. And that I think committees like this will just further engage our town and people who want to get involved in town government. Maybe they don't want to be on a planning board, or they don't want to be on the zoning board of appeals or recreation, but they might want to do something about climate change locally. And so I just commend all the thinking behind this and move it.
A second.
We got a second from Christina.
Marcus Mendez.
Yes.
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 Yes. All right. David Maker, are you still with us?
Still here, Dan.
So I want to make sure we understand this resolution, a Danella Task Force authorization for Dryden Fiber.
Yeah, it's not task force, it's just task.
Task.
We're on task force. So we need to be able to hire companies to go to the telephone poles, utility poles, where we want to put fiber, and move what's on those poles up and down, mostly up, to make room for our connections. These are done by permit. Each permit can have a maximum of 150 telephone poles or utility poles. They have to be approved by NYSEG or whoever the owner of the pole is. Then we have to put the work out to bid, and we have 2 to 3 to 5 different companies that will bid to do this work. They will bid both billable and non-billable work. What that means is for a individual permit that can have up to 150 poles. Some of the work that they will move and do on that pole is improvements to the pole owned by the owner, like NYSEG, that NYSEG will have to pay for because it's just part of upkeep that they are having improved by our project that they would have been doing anyway.
Okay.
Part of that work is non-billable, and that's the work that we have to pay for. So there's these both billable and non-billable. Our methodology of choosing these vendors is to find the one that has the lowest part that we would be paying, our billable piece. Not to say that the vendors who are bidding on this are going to move all the expenses to the NYSEG portion. It also has to be measured so it doesn't like overly saturate NYSEG with the cost of these moves. And with that, actually all of our bids so far have been selected to have been won by either HRS, H. Richardson and Son, they're based in Geneva, or Danella. They're a regional player. Right now, our partnership with HRS goes back, I think, almost 4 years since we first broke ground in 2022. We do not have to have the kind of sign off from them to do each of the bids that they win. But for Danella wants us to do this the way they follow their process. Last week, I think there were 3 that were approved. This week, there's a few more. And as Danella continues to win these bids, we'll continue to bring those before the town board for authorization for signing.
So we've got to authorize each individual bid award.
Yes.
To Danella.
Like you authorize signing of each individual invoice or each abstract that approves the signing.
Okay.
So this is Dryden 011 and Dryden 021, which are 2 of the 40 regions of poles that we'll be building.
So we will be doing a lot of these.
Yes.
Danella continues to come in at the right bid price. We select the most ones.
Just had to wrap my brain around that. Okay. All right, I move this.
Second.
Leo seconds.
Councilperson Marty Bendis.
Yes.
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 Thank you. The other one.
Okay, so that's the next 2 documents that are on our meeting page.
This is the master service agreement for dark fiber licensing. So on the last page of this, there's a diagram that shows where the network, the backbone of the network crosses Mount Pleasant. It's approximately from on the west side, I believe Deer Haven, along Mount Pleasant, over the top of Mount Pleasant, where the power is, and then it ends, and then it goes back to fiber that we own and we control. It's about 3 miles long. We have a 10-year lease with Point Broadband to use that as part of our backbone. It saved us it actually did 2 things, the initial partnership. It saved us from building that 3 miles of underground backbone. Underground work costs up to $75,000 per mile. So substantial savings by just plugging into their network on the west side. So on the left side of this image, this purple line where it's, I believe, on Deer Haven, and then it goes over Mount Pleasant to the east, the right side of this image. It's this 3-mile stretch from Deer Haven Drive along Mount Pleasant. So we get a couple things. First is we're paying them to use this 3 miles for 10 years. It's a savings of quite a bit of money for us by renting it from them for the 10 years. The second thing is part of this agreement in the initial format, which was an MOU, is that they used that funding to build their own fiber network to the home back in 2022 to reach every single house on Baker Hill Road. This was an island of DSL and dial-up, unserved and underserved houses that we knew we were going to be able to build to for years, 3, 4, 5 years out. And they said, we can build this right away. So they built fiber connections from where Baker Hill Road hits Route 366, all the way up to the top where it crosses Mount Pleasant, and then continues all the way to the towers at the very end of Baker Hill Road. I believe it's 22 Dryden residents. I think 18 of them have signed up for Point Broadband fiber along that stretch. And we contributed to that project by this lease agreement. So it's a win for us by having a backbone that's 3 miles of the entire backbone for the 10-year lease, and it provides fiber service through a competitor, but a friendly partner in this case for Baker Hill Road.
Okay, that all rings true to my memory of this particular arrangement. I'm just looking at this form, so we are voting tonight to approve Dryden, the town, signing this. Do I sign this tonight then, or what do we do with the date? And we got to enter a date on this. Are we authorizing Jason to sign this, or is this something that we can sign here tonight? Does anyone know?
We're asking the town board to authorize Jason to sign this. Although
Okay.
I believe as deputy supervisor, you could also sign it.
All right, so the date then that we're entering would be today's date, then the 21st. No,
the 15th.
right?
May 1st.
Is that okay with David and your understanding of this? This master agreement for dark fiber is made as of August 21st, 2025?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah, the date at the top in the header is just the date the last time it was updated. That doesn't have to do with the date that you're putting on the fill in the blank on line 2 and on the signature page.
all right, so I'll move that the town signs this document.
Second.
Authorizing Jason some?
Yeah, well, we'll put it on his desk.
Okay.
He gets back tonight.
And Leo, you seconded?
Yeah.
Hey, Councilperson Barnes Mendez.
Yes.
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 Yes. And thanks for that explanation, David.
This
You're-
this helps us secure this part of our network.
Love you to stick around.
Thanks for having me. Tomorrow morning is the Dryden Public Broadband Committee meeting. If anyone from the public wants to join us, we meet by Zoom, so you can join from anywhere. If you don't have access to broadband, come to town hall and you can join me in the Barbara Caldwell room. The meeting's 10:30 to 11:45 tomorrow. If you go to Dryden Town's website, there's a link to the Zoom call on there. Thank you.
Thank you, Ted. All right, the next item on the agenda is agreement with the Tompkins County Ithaca Transportation Council. Ithaca Tompkins County Transportation Council for a work related to phase 3 of the Dryden Rail Trail. And you know, I guess when I was
So
looking
this
at-
was approved in their budget back in March and April. We approved the contracting out of this. And they're providing over 90% of the funding. So this just enters into the formal agreement with the county for them to reimburse that. $9,537.
Right, so when I look at the signatures due on this, one's the county and one's the contractor. I don't see the town.
The contractor is the town.
The town is the contractor, okay. All right, well, this work is underway. It's going along really well. And I think we should formalize this as needed. So I'll move that the town sign this document as the contractor and authorize the county to make this payment.
I'll second that.
Yep.
Yep.
Councilperson Barnes Mendez.
Yes.
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 Yes. All right, now we're moving on to the CDBG materials.
So we're rescheduling the public hearing for 9/11.
Yeah.
So the public hearing notice would be on September 11th
Yes.
for this document. For the purpose of hearing public, so the town of Dryden's community development needs, and in this case, this relates to the sewage infrastructure needed for the Henshaw mobile home
Yes.
community wastewater improvements project. And this is where we decided to put all our eggs in the basket of the CDBG program this year for applying for up to 1.5 million for this funding.
Yep. We had a big discussion about this last time.
Yeah.
I'll move it. Let's do it.
Make sure I'm going through the proper process here. So,
It's exciting.
so this is the, what we're moving today is the resolution. We're agreeing to this hearing and, so the resolution authorizing the supervisor to apply for, this funding, is this, in the resolve, that the town clerk is hereby authorized to publish a notice of public hearing to be held on September 11th, 2025 at the town hall. So that needs to be entered in and, you know, the resolves are pretty clear that, the project that I just described is the subject of this hearing and,
What's the likelihood that we would be turned down for the grant?
Say that again?
well, she's asking about, you know, the success rate of grants like this. I mean, we succeeded in Varna.
We've been in
Yeah.
conversation with the Housing and Community Renewal. They're the actual New York State administrators of this grant program. And they see this as a very high scoring, desirable project.
So it's okay to be excited about the sewer grant. I'm personally excited about it. Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
And there's a consent order from the counties right now.
DEC
DEC.
has, yep. Given Cook Properties a consent order to, protect their
Yeah.
lagoons.
Fantastic.
So if they're asking or telling them to do this work, they can't really, I mean, one arm of the state government, you know, should cooperate with the other. All right, so I move this resolution.
Second. Yes.
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 Yes. Okay, the next item is this project that y'all were handed an outline of the cottages on Hand Road preliminary planned unit development proposal.
Look pretty good to me.
And I believe we've got for Brennan.
Yeah, let me, I'll try to share my screen.
Dan, can you grant him the share?
Oh, yes. He's got to ask for it first, though, right?
No.
Yeah, out there.
Can you request?
Sorry, yeah, sorry, I gotta rejoin the meeting.
That's pretty cool. Nice place. That big, it's very nice.
Great.
Well, great to be here with you. I'm Larry Februari Jr. I'm the project planner and architect. And this is Joe Lovejoy, the owner of the property. Yeah, this is a sketch plan. Just here, yeah, I think we've been to the planning board twice and I think I've gotten, yeah, pretty great feedback from them, as well as encouragement on this project. And so, yeah, we thought it was time then now to come in front of you all and get some feedback as well, and you know, try to move this forward. As far as just walking you through, I don't know why all right, I may not be able to do full screen here, and advanced slides.
The map is filtered.
That's an unusual plan.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's happening. It's on my screen and says I'm sharing, but it is not. It is not showing the slides, so
Did you expand it? Is there a way for you to?
I did full screen and it wasn't showing the slide advance on the screen. Let's try again.
Okay.
Okay, so. I guess we'll live with not quite full screen, because it's working right now. So, this parcel is located, along Hanshaw Road. Just as you're sort of leaving the town of Ithaca into the town of Dryden, just past Sapsucker Woods Road. It's on the left before you would get up to the SPCA and then down to Route 13. It's and this just sort of gives you the kind of a broader context of where it's located with respect to the Route 13 intersections there with Hanshaw and Lower Creek as well. Just a little bit of context of what is around this. Yeah, there's what has been a pretty successful residential neighborhood along Sapsucker Woods with Cardinal Drive and Meadowlark Road that have been there for years. There was at one point a mapped road, and you'll see where the water line was previously run through there, which is called Oriole Way once upon a time. And we're not proposing the specific route of that road, but we are proposing a continuation of the Cardinal Drive route to connect to Hanshaw. Mostly this is surrounded beyond the residences by land that's owned by Cornell. A good amount of that, which is conservation land and the lab of ornithology land. And then directly to the south are two parcels that sort of make this triangle. The one adjacent to that is the old Ludgate Farms property, and the triangular site there is where Joe's business is located, and his shop is located there. So you can see here the site's just over 8 acres. It is the as of right zoning right now is neighborhood residential, which would allow for single family homes and accessible units. We're proposing a PUD because we'd like to do a clustered higher density cottage development that we couldn't currently do under the existing zoning or under the existing cluster rules. So there's existing water and sewer access. As I mentioned, this blue line indicates where an existing water line already runs through the property. And the sewer terminates at the end of Cardinal Drive as well as at the end of Meadowlark Drive. And then this dashed kind of dark blue line shows where the limit of the current water and sewer district that was established by this body decades ago exists, and we'll talk a little bit more about that as far as some options for potentially expanding that and moving where that line might exist. So just to, overall what we're proposing is 35 residential units. These would be cottage style buildings that would range from, for one bedroom units, they would be about 675 square feet, and up to 3 bedroom unit, which would be just under 1,200 square feet. The footprints are, about half of that, right? So, there would be recreation area, and walk through what that is that would be accessible to the larger community beyond just the residents of the property. and then some residential open space, which is sort of designed more for the residents of the buildings, but still communal space that's shared. One note on this, we noticed that there would be these units on the right, that there's 9 units that are beyond that limit of the existing water and sewer district. Something that got missed here was a layer got turned off, and there would be some parking pads similar to what you see on the rest of the site for those units as well. So I just wanted to note that, and we're not trying to hide something. It'll all be there, but there are some additional parking spaces that we would need to include too. I mentioned the sizes of the units. We're trying to kind of figure out where, with the direction of the project, where we're going to finalize the unit count before we finalize the number of types of units for you. And I'm sure we'll come back with that the next time we see you. But generally, we think it would be a pretty even split between percentage-wise between the 1s, 2s, and 3-bedroom units. We're looking to offer a variety of this, and we want to be able to provide units that can serve families as much as units that can serve individuals. As far as open space goes, as I mentioned, these green spaces sort of indicate what we anticipate as and as sort of community open space with pathways that could connect the adjacent neighborhoods out to, on the eastern end of the site, a larger green space that would have some sort of open air pavilion and potentially some kind of play structure or something like that, and lawn space for recreation as well. And then these yellow spaces sort of indicate the shared resident spaces that would serve as sort of backyards, but shared backyards for these units. There's a potential for a kind of connection north to Meadowlark as well. Though that property is owned by Cornell at the moment. So, but that certainly is, we're open to any type of connection the town would like to see from Meadowlark, as well. As far as access goes, we envision the main access to be on and off of Hanshaw Road. There's great visibility there, over 1,000 feet in either direction along that road, with a secondary entrance from Cardinal Drive, and then we would certainly defer to the preferences of the fire department, specifically for how to handle some traffic calming measure to make sure, even though we don't think this is a great shortcut for people to try to use from Hanshaw to Sapsucker or vice versa, we want to make sure it doesn't, that no one thinks it should be, that they should use it that way. But provide access for residents of the street certainly to use it in either direction. We're proposing these as private roadways here, so just to note that as well. As far as stormwater, we've done some preliminary look at how we would handle the stormwater on the site, which would all sort of flow downhill east to a retention basin at the east end of the site, and in the open space with a network of rain gardens, bioretention areas, and swales through the site that we generally find become good aesthetic features of the site as well as handling the stormwater. Just noting the phasing, we've we've located the 26 of the units within the existing limit of the current water and sewer district. However, we're proposing 9 additional, that was with, beyond that, which would require an expansion of that district. But, we were encouraged by the planning board to pursue that when we offered that. They sort of indicated to us that, that they'd like to see more housing, and that this is the type of housing that, or a type of housing that they'd like to see. So if there's encouragement from this board, I think we'd certainly be looking to discuss how to move forward with moving that line and expanding the district during this process. We've done some preliminary utility, look at utilities and provide some layout of a loop system for the water. Again, we noted the need to extend that water and sewer district for the additional 9 units. The sewer system would be a gravity system. It's important to note to you that we've had some preliminary discussions with the Village of Cedar Heights, who have given us a pretty positive indication that this project could be served by the plant. And we've talked with the town of Ithaca. We know they're dealing with some I&I issues in this area, and we're trying to work through to be sure that they'll accept and that and whatever improvements might need to be made to allow for this project could be made. So that's an ongoing discussion. We've been working with Ray and the staff, as well as with the town's engineering consultants who are looking at this as well. So that's part of this process is to do that. And so just an overall sort of I think rough idea of what this might look like and how it might fit into the neighborhood is here. And certainly, as we move forward, we'll show you some more detailed images of what it might look and feel like to be in this project or near this project. So that we provided a written description as well, but we'd love to kind of take any questions or hear any comments you all may have. And thanks for your time.
Yeah, well, thanks, Larry. And I want to commend you for the thoroughness of this overview. I mean, a lot of my initial questions are just answered by staring at this a little further and seeing the design. I have a couple things that I'd like to run through and then pass the mic. Would you be cutting the trees that are long Henshaw initially and then replanting? Or would the final design just leave that sort of screening in place and that's there now?
So I think the goal would be to leave as much in place as we can. But obviously, I think when you get into sites of the size, you want to do an inventory of what good growth is versus what sort of brush that's just developed over the years is. And
yeah, good point.
And determine if there's sort of a better type of screening that might serve it long term. So I go into enough of these sites around here where you can't even walk through some of these sites because of the brush that's just been left abandoned for years. And sometimes in evergreen screening, if screening is the ultimate objective, makes more sense to install once you've taken out some of that. But I would say we need to do a better inventory at the moment. It's pretty well screened from the roadway, and I'm not sure how many of you have been over there.
It's a slow drive today, but and I was staring at that and trying to envision how this would look from the road, and it seemed like it'd be kind of hard to see it.
Yeah, I mean, I think we believe that too. And I think the goal is not to create, something that is extremely noticeable beyond the entrance there. But, we're also hoping to design an attractive project. So, and I think, we reference in, some of the Schickel projects that have been built, and I don't think, I think from the size of unit, you could expect something similar to those sizes of units, but I think from an aesthetic, we'll certainly be proposing to you a different aesthetic. That is probably slightly more traditional to contemporary.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say those are fair, they're visible.
Yeah.
The visibility is part of the advertising, I think. What?
They're adorable.
I didn't say they weren't adorable, but they're not subtle.
You get my point.
In that area, to me, it's kind of subtle. It's one area.
That's only to reference that as, if you don't understand what the product is, would be from a unit standpoint, you're talking about something similar size to those type of units, but I think, the aesthetic will certainly be different here. And you'll have a chance to comment.
And I think I brought this up at the planning board, but I just see the temptation for a shortcut from Cardinal Drive residents to Henshaw Road as inevitable. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but I just want to get if you could just reiterate your approach. The temptation to drive through this will be there. It won't be illegal, but you might have private road signs to discourage it, or.
I think we would. I mean, yes, I think residents of Cardinal Drive, absolutely. If you're gonna be heading to Route 13, they're gonna use this driveway. But I think what we're trying to do is put enough in place that will discourage anyone who is moving from Henshaw to Sapsucker Woods Road from thinking that this is some shortcut they're going to take, rather than driving the extra bit to Sapsucker Woods Road and just using that. And we think some sort of traffic calming will accomplish that.
Because it's not a straight shot. It kind of curves, and
it's not. It wouldn't be faster. But we've all we've all lived enough places where people think that they can get somewhere faster, or just like to think that they have a shortcut. So we're anticipating that.
Okay, but do you envision signs saying private drive?
Yeah, private road drive.
Private road as you're turning off Cardinal, or as you're leaving Henshaw Road, would there be a little sign saying private road?
Yeah, there'll be a private road, there'll be speed bumps in places.
I'm not saying yes, I'm kind of thinking this through myself. You okay with that?
No through traffic.
No,
I mean, we'll have to try to do the proper stuff.
Yeah, I would assume that, but I would also assume, I think we want to make it okay I think there'll be a couple parking spaces, and we want to make it okay for people in the neighborhood to come use the open space too. It's not, I don't anticipate it being something that's trying to make people feel like they're gonna be in trouble if they come in here.
I mean, my instincts are, I'd prefer not to see a private road, but I also don't want to see it becoming a thoroughfare, so I just trying to figure that one out.
I think that could also be let's try it the formal way first, and if there are issues, then we approach it with a ladder and put up a sign.
And are you planning to do sidewalks within?
Yes, we'll have that in the plan as we.
Great. I think our instincts, I mean, we want to see more affordable housing, and I understand these are rental units, but even still, they'll put more availability to the community. So I think we'd like to see the sewer district expanded. I don't think you'll get a lot of pushback from us on that. So when you want to add those last 9 units, I think we'd probably be on board with that. I just want to put that out there as an issue. I find it interesting. So shared backyards, so everyone shares the space, and they go into the contract knowing that. So no fenced backyards, or
No, I think this is, this is a pretty proven model at this
Yeah.
point, and we think a lot of people are looking for this type of product, sort of the rental option, but also, something that is your own.
And I just want to reiterate for the board members that you had said at the planning board meetings, these would be all electric. Correct, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
So, this is built into the accessibility of the streets. You say the regulation will be public accessible, public to the rest of the neighborhoods, or just public to.
Yeah, so this green area here would be open to anyone in the neighborhood and beyond, if you want to come there and use the pavilion and have a picnic, that's available. Yeah, I'm not sure beyond the people in the neighborhood how attractive that's going to be versus other parks and things that are.
This was if it was the path for people, for other people to go through, how they're going to get from the neighborhoods around to the public area, especially.
So I'm trying to kind of represent with these pink lines here is pathways that we would run through through the site that would connect to the neighborhood. And so, if you were on a walk in the neighborhood, that it would be a welcoming environment for you to get there. It's not something that we're trying to hide or close off.
Nice.
And I would expect there'd be some signage too.
I have a couple questions for you.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm done.
So one is, I really like it that you have the access to Cardinal Drive. Just my own personal opinion, because from a pedestrian and bicycle standpoint, that's really gonna be a good route to get over to TCAT, which is not great on Hanshaw Road, but it is if you go down Cardinal that way. So that's awesome. But on bikes, these are just notes. Take them or leave them. I do expect you will get people who have bicycles, and electric is getting more popular. Having outdoor bike parking so that those electric bikes aren't inside your building, especially if there should be an issue with the battery or something like that. Save yourself. One thing I don't know if you guys are considering in your design is having some of these be ADA accessible. A lot of apartments are not ADA accessible. And I know there's a lot of students, we think about students when we're renting, but there's a lot of people of all ages, but also aging population who would very likely be interested in these, and having accessible entrances or bedrooms would be awesome. It is really hard to find. I was recently on a hunt for that one, so it's been on my mind.
Yeah, and I mean, just to comment on that is, I expect, certainly when you have a second floor in this type of product that's not accessible, but ground floors or one bedroom units of these, I would expect to all be accessible or adaptable.
Yeah, that's great. And then one last comment. You are very close to the ornithology lab, and whether you are our dark sky approved lighting is not more expensive, but would certainly be, I think, good for the well-being of the residents, but the feathered friends nearby. So.
Great comments. Thanks.
Thank you.
Awesome project.
Yep.
It's exciting to see you do it.
Me too.
All right, well, great. Thanks a lot for your time.
Yeah.
And we'll look forward to seeing you again soon.
Yeah, we think you're on track. I mean, the takeaway, if you have any questions about our support, we like what you're doing. I think it's the right place.
That'll be very.
Great. Thanks a lot.
Okay, thanks.
I asked them the earliest these would be able to be, but then they go to start. That's the scenario. It's like open for anyone.
All right, so the last item on our agenda is we got a letter in about another speed zone reduction. These come in fairly often now. I think we got another email today about something on Hunt Hill Road, so.
Yeah, there's been a lot of articles out lately too about the size of vehicles getting bigger and the impact that's having nationally on need to reduce speed limits. So it seems kind of timely that we're seeing the requests at the same time we're hearing about this from the larger vehicle safety, visibility.
So I assume everyone's read this, look like, you know, they're interested in seeing a 55 speed zone reduced to a 45 covering McClintock Road. You know, this is something that they've gathered signatures for, which is what we always ask people to do. We could forward on to Department of Transportation.
Yeah.
And let them make the, you know, engineering based decision on this.
Yeah,
one
we
right
can't
there.
do it ourselves. They have to,
Yeah,
we have
can't.
to ask, right?
Yeah, we're not a city. Has that sort of authority. So I guess I'll move that we forward this on to New York State Department of Transportation.
A second.
And ask Jason to send it with his imprimatur.
Councilperson Martinez.
Yes.
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 Okay, that's the end. Oh, yes.
Good job, Lauren.
I thought by moving it. That's all I had to say. All right, moving on to advisory board updates. First up is affordable housing.
Good news, we got our application to the Tompkins County Housing grant program approved. And we are granted $10,000 to.
Wow, that's right, that was
yeah.
great news.
So I guess hire a consultant to do the comprehensive study on the can't remember the lot. I think it's we call it the Leo. Well,
Leonardo?
yeah, Leos. No, I don't know. But yeah,
It's between Nelson and the 366.
Yeah.
What's that?
For a possible housing
yeah, for
and a rail trail.
a mix of different housing possibilities, I guess.
Yeah. That's fantastic. Congratulations again. Who worked on that application? Who put?
Ray and Gina ended up putting it together, I guess.
Nice.
With some help from Marta as well.
That's great. Okay, Conservation Board.
Okay, so I have a few bullets. One is no update from the EMC this month, other than what I think was previously shared, that there are updated UNA maps en route that are far more high tech than the ones that were done with Sharpies many, many years ago. So those should be coming soon. Donations are now being accepted for the Bob Beck Memorial Tree Planting. That information was in this month's newsletter. There was some general discussion around concerns around trees being taken down, but it was on private property, nothing illegal, just discussion around how to improve saving trees in the future. There was an update on the proposed Eagle Aviary that Cornell was given a donation to build. That was kind of interesting. I guess what they're building is basically a giant flight cage so that the birds who are rehabbing can learn to turn, because releasing them into the wild without knowing how to fly other than in short, tiny distances is not necessarily great for them. So that was a positive discussion. Lauren had shared guidance with the group about social media, because there's interest in doing more outreach, education around conservation. So instead of canceling this month's August meeting, we're going to use the time as a working session for a few of the people to talk about potential use of social media for those purposes. But the majority of the meeting was really around concerns about Dryden Lake Dam. And one of the main takeaways was for me to come back and ask if the Conservation Board, if there's anything the Conservation Board can do or engage on or have action items to support what needs to happen around Dryden Lake Dam. And I don't know if we're at that point. I know that we're hoping to get more updates from the DEC.
So, you know what would be helpful, because there are some smart people on the Conservation Board.
Absolutely.
Now that we have that project outline, you know, with the estimated $3.4 million price tag, that's broken down into components. I just got it yesterday, sent to me from DEC. I think Conservation Board might be a good review panel for that, to look at whether those estimates are within the ballpark of what we think they should be, or what, you know, some other entity could do. You know, it's like $1 million for the concrete. I mean, not a million. Yeah, $1 million for the concrete involved. It's a lot. Yeah. And the reinforcement and you know, so the estimates might be on the high side. You know, they're quick to say in the estimate that they're you know, subject, they're volatile, they could change. So, you know, I wouldn't mind having another set of eyes look at those. So in addition to, you know, those of us who will look at it as well, but I think you know, I can send it to you and maybe you can share it with the
that
board.
would be fantastic, because
And have them look at that, but it took me about 6 weeks to get that document. But finally, that's working with the bureaucracy, because you know, a number of people had to sign off and came with an introductory letter, you know, dated the 18th of August. So
great.
And that came from GSA, you know, that's the Government Service Agency of New York State. So
yeah, if you could send that to me, that'd be fantastic, because there's no question this is critical to our community. And I know we've had people suggest we do
a community build
statement or something. But community build, yeah. I have had people suggest that they really want to see a new playground at the Dryden Lake, but I think right now it's saving the lake is the more critical factor.
Well, yeah, playground follows what we do on the dam, but you know, we can walk and chew gum. I mean, playgrounds are not $3 million.
Yeah. So that's the update. So thank you if you can send me that. That'll be fantastic.
Yeah. As far as the planning board goes, we did have a visitor from the George Junior Agency, which I thought was great. William George Agency come to the planning board, and the executive director, whom I hadn't met, and she came down to our planning board meeting and made the case for this new family meeting facility that they want to have. I guess that was a sketch plan level review. And it's interesting that I find it interesting that an agency like that doesn't have more jurisdiction over their own design within their campus, that they have to come to the municipality for such a simple thing. But that's my own take on it. Yeah, I think the planning board was for the most part impressed. Some comments about parking. We had a long presentation by Larry Fabroni, who we just heard, and covered a lot of the very things that he covered for us tonight. And the planning board seems to be favorably inclined for this project too. So this process is kind of interesting that it comes before both the planning board and the town board for approval. So the PUD requires public hearings, required the meeting that we just had. The planning board will run one of the meetings, do the seeker. And then the final public hearing will be, done by the town board on the project to approve the PUD. So that's the PUD process that will play out over the next couple months. Other than that, we talked about the next phases of the zoning rewrite and that, you know, we're waiting for phase one to be completed by our consultant, and that will include the data center piece. That language that we're all kind of interested in seeing, what our consultant does with we basically gave our outline of what we'd like to see concerning data centers and crypto mining. And we'll meet, and we did not meet in August as a zoning advisory group on that because we're still waiting for the draft of the phase one plan. But the September meeting will be interesting because we'll start to look at that language. And then, of course, we move into phase two, which will be a whole nother process. But we have this moratorium that's going to expire at the end of this fall on data centers. And so we have to pass.
We have to, yeah.
And I think we all know that. So, yeah, that was the planning board. Climate smart.
Okay, the news about our climate smart community certification was picked up by both local media and it was in our town newsletter. And then the transition from the task force to the committee was a big deal, so thank you for approving that. And we're still moving forward with our repair cafe on October 4th.
Busy stuff. That climate smart group.
Yep.
And we're not gonna call it climate smart anymore.
Oh yeah, climate action.
Next meeting, whoever works on these, and Casey, if you're still listening, Cassie, I'm sorry, I do planning board, not book. No offense.
She covered it for you for.
And now I'm gonna need her again in January, please.
Yes.
I'll talk about that later. Rail trail, we're reviewing some alternative routes from Pinckney Road up to Freeville. That's very interesting, the work that's being done that we discussed a little bit earlier, that's being
Are they
financed. Excuse me?
Are they feasible?
We're gonna have three choices to consider, and they'll all be, well, feasibility comes down to whether it's economical. So we'll have to come up with our own sense of what our weighted values are in terms of feasibility. But it's an important next step. Additionally, we're waiting for New York State DOT to approve our revised bid package for the Route 13 pedestrian bridge.
Do we have an ETA on that?
Could be tomorrow.
Okay.
They've had it since the 4th of August. And I was in contact with our consultant today, and he in turn immediately reached out to DOT. And if they don't get back to us in a couple days, either Ray or me will reach out to DOT. We've all become very friendly with DOT. And we can get in touch with them. So that's exciting. And I also got a bench location approved by the DEC to commemorate Buzz Levine. And it's something the family wanted, but we had to, pursuant to our agreement with DEC, get approval from them of any sort of upgrade within their property zone, where we have a memorandum of understanding, a certificate of use and occupancy. And thanks to the detailed information from the family, the Levine family, and our task force, I presented that all to the DEC, and they approved it just a few days later. I couldn't believe it, because that MOU took years. But the thing about a good MOU is when you want to go and act on it, you know, the structure's there, and so that work paid off. And Ed Committee is lifer and DRYC is lifer, so unless somebody else has insights on what happened on those committees, I think we'll just skip those. All right. Which brings us to item 13, citizens privilege.
You got the list?
It's our privilege to have the citizens. Yeah.
How many people are on the list today?
We've got three: Tom Corey, Craig Shutt, and Anne Marie Sheridan.
Hey, thank you.
Thank you.
Now, if you get this position so close to that microphone. Yeah. So
I can do that.
the folks online can hear.
Actually, you can see me. Oh, God. What is that? Okay, so I'm just gonna read this, make it pretty quick, right? So, for the past 225 years, Dryden Lake has survived as an example of Dryden's industrial and agricultural past, and as a cultural and recreational fixture in our contemporary environment. The lake is the site of a popular town park. There's a good productive fishery, and is used for boating and kayaking as well as other type of boating. It's the terminus of Dryden's Jim Shuck Rail Trail, and as such is one of Dryden's most important features. Originally improved by damming in 1801, and I had looked that up twice to make sure I spelled it correctly. It's perhaps the first major capital improvement in the town. The dam has been replaced several times to maintain the lake, and as the dam aged or failed, as it did in 1901, that failure caused millions of dollars in damages and put at risk the lives of hundreds of residents downstream. The current 50-year-old Wood Crib Dam is maintained by the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation, was declared deficient or derelict, or I don't know exactly what they used in the terminology 5 years ago. And the new dam was designed, approved, and sent to bid this past March. It did go to bid, and that's where the $3.4 million cost was determined. And that exceeded, of course, their allocated funds, which they had set aside about $1.2 million, and the project was canceled. The town met in private with officials of the DEC last month, and the DEC informed the town that failing another solution for the dam, unsafe, it would need to be deconstructed, and the result would be the effective loss of the lake. Its area would be reduced to effectively a wetland. I feel that the lack of an official position by the town on the future of the lake is unconscionable, and that the town should go on record and be working aggressively with our state representatives and the public towards maintaining Dryden Lake as a lake. So I proposed here a rough resolution for consideration by the board. I realize that obviously we would want to do your own, but this is just essentially the gist of what I would propose. This is addressed to the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation, Region 7. Dryden Lake is owned and controlled by New York State. It has been a fixture of Dryden since it was first improved by damming in 1801, making it one of the earliest capital projects in the town, predating the establishment of Tompkins County. As a cultural and recreational asset, it is revered by the community, and its loss would be irreplaceable. The Timber Crib Dam, which maintains the lake, is over 50 years old and was declared derelict by the state in 2020. Plans for a replacement dam were prepared, approved, and bids were received of approximately $3.4 million, exceeding the project estimate of $1.2. The necessary additional funds were not allocated, and the project has been canceled, calling into question the future of the dam and the lake. Be it resolved that the town of Dryden will accept no determination that eliminates or reduces the utility of Dryden Lake by removing the dam or by other means. Dryden Lake must remain a vital part of our future as it has been in the past.
Thank you.
Tom, I support everything Tom said. The one thing, I came last month and made a statement that I felt the town board should call a public meeting of the residents to get their feelings, to hear their feelings on the lake. Has anything been done about that proposal to do that?
No.
Are we gonna move ahead with something?
We are going to move ahead with something. I don't think there's any doubt in this town board that we want to do everything we can to maintain that lake. And
Yeah, but are you gonna hold a public meeting so that the residents know what's going on and they can voice their opinions?
the residents are welcome to come to these public meetings. Every one of our town board meetings is a public meeting. And
Yeah, and sit with them for 2.5 hours while you do all this other business. People tonight, because they were getting uneasy.
So
well,
Tired of
sorry about that. We've got town business to do and we have a lot on our agenda.
back years ago, public comment used to be the beginning of the meeting.
Great, I don't think there's any disagreement between what you're saying you want and what we're saying we want.
But I'm saying, I think the town residents should have a right to speak their mind in front of you people.
They absolutely have the right, but you're implying that there's some sort of disagreement.
No, I don't. I think there's, but I think it was just a lack of information getting out there.
You know, you were at the same meeting we were at.
Right.
You had the same information that we have.
Right.
About this. So, you know, if there's, you know, something being withheld, I don't know what it is.
I'm not saying anything's being withheld.
So what?
I just
what
think
would
it's an issue that the general public should have a right to speak about.
So is it that you, and I'm genuinely asking, because I'm not disagreeing with you.
Yeah.
Is the goal to try to get people to write letters to the DEC or?
Of course.
That would be
shows what's going on. I haven't seen anything in the newspaper about this issue. And you people don't seem to want to hold a meeting and let people know what's going on. I suggested, ask DEC to come to a meeting and explain what they explained to us in that small meeting.
Well, this is, when we hold a public meeting, generally we have some information to share and some sort of agenda to build. I guess, if you're saying we need to generate a public letter writing campaign to state reps, I suppose, that's something that should be taken up by the Conservation Board. The Conservation Board hasn't made that recommendation to us. If we were going to have just trying to think of how we would structure that, because we don't have a lot of information to share other than we like our lake. We know it's a great asset. We know the dam is, it's not failing. I don't want to get that message out. Right. It's about to break, but we know it has sustainability issues. And the future, we don't have a solution to offer right now. I guess that's the frustrating thing with this. We're looking at, what alternatives we can put forward. I guess I would prefer to have a public meeting when we have some sort of plan of action to convey. What do you think of us doing this? Right now, we're still at the information stage, gathering.
Well, DEC gave several options that day. They gave more than one option.
Well,
and if they give the same options to the public, then the public could weigh in how they feel about it.
Their options were do nothing or take $1 million and build some sort of lower resistance.
Just take the dam out. That was one of their options.
Return to the original form. I
neither one of those options saves the lake.
Yeah, none of those save the lake, which is our first priority. So,
right.
So we need to have.
I don't see why you're so insistent to letting the public hear what's going on. You always tell us how open you are. No, you're not open.
It's not about not telling people. It's about we want to have a plan to say, okay, is everyone on board with this? Do you like this idea? We don't have that yet.
So can we pass this to the Conservation Board for them to sort of work on a plan that we can discuss openly?
You're implying that we're not doing anything, and that's incorrect. We're in constant communication with DEC. I was in communication with Scott Prindle this week. I got this document, so we have something to really look at and start to formulate a plan. We have another meeting planned with DEC next month. With the regional director again. And, we're still looking at, what the alternatives are. I think in some ways, the fact that they're willing to keep talking to us is a good sign. I think they came back here and tried to drop a truth bomb on us and say, this is what our cards are and love them or leave them. In truth, in turn, they're willing to talk to us some more. So it's a dynamic situation. I don't know if it's ripe for a public meeting because it's so fluid. So I hear what you're saying. If we held a public meeting on the state of the dam, I think unless we had a good set of answers, people would leave with more questions than answers, and that's never a good situation in a public meeting. Been in a few.
A lot of people that I've talked to are asking, how can we have a meeting and find out what's going on? I mean, people, that is their first reaction when you have to.
Saying what's going on and implies there is some sort of process at play. Okay.
So the problem is if they come to the meeting, we're gonna say exactly what we just said right now, and that's not enough information to make people feel better.
No, but it's not window cleaning. He could explain what he explained that day, what the options, what DEC sees as the options.
DEC's dams, DEC's
Right.
problem. And DEC is the one that needs to have a public hearing. The town doesn't really have, a say, but not much, that's what they have to do is go on record. We really need to be on record. It's for the public to know, so the public can say, oh, maybe there's gonna be a problem with the lake, then we can contact our legislator and we can talk to people. That's what the advantage of a resolution board is. That's where you start. At a public hearing, I'll organize a public hearing. I'll get DEC down here. They don't have to do it, believe me.
You wanna?
No, it's not a problem. I've done it before. It's not an issue.
Okay, Tom.
I mean, if you don't do it, you obviously don't want it. So.
Well, I want to have useful, productive time with the public when we hold some of these things. I don't want to have a meeting that just, doesn't satisfy people's need for information and just.
What makes you think that we couldn't hold one that would do that? You think I'm some type of a radical, but.
I don't know where you're going.
I don't think the solution necessarily.
Your forum on any topic.
They need
So
information.
Craig, you have all the information, you have all of it. What, if we had a thing today and we share everything with everyone else that you already know, where do we go from there?
You might get some good ideas from some of the citizens.
Okay,
They would probably come in with some ideas.
okay, so we'll have a brainstorm session, collect ideas from people.
I think the optimal thing would be is that if you build public opinion, maybe you can raise the additional $2 million.
Yeah.
State to build the dam, which is the logical solution. That's why DEC came here, to build public opinion. They need the money. They want to build the dam. If they can't build a dam, then they have to take the existing dam down. That's really.
No, they
that's the
don't.
situation.
They don't have to take the existing down.
Oh, is that right? Is that right? Okay.
How many times did they?
On record as saying that, please.
They were here. Craig, you were at the same meeting.
Yeah, and how many times did they say the dam didn't pass inspection? Something eventually's gotta be done with it.
No, she said you could do nothing. We could do nothing.
For the time being.
Slowly leak.
For the time being, she said we could do nothing. But she said eventually, something has to be done. Either it has to come out or it has to be rebuilt. That's what I got out of that meeting.
I guess we heard different things.
Putting in a new dam.
What?
They didn't propose building a new dam if it wasn't for the fact that they needed a new dam. They don't go around replacing dams. As a matter of fact, DEC goes around removing dams. They've removed many dams all over the state. Oh, they have rendezvous, probably more than 50.
Yeah, but you understand they had a consultant, or I'm trying to figure out whether it's a consultant or whether it was done in-house. By the letter, it's kind of hard to tell that they sent. But the estimate was prepared by a group called
It was put out to bid. That was a bid.
No, I have a design and construction estimate. And it's on OGS.
Well, then somebody didn't speak right that day because they said it was a bid.
Sure, went to bid, that was told.
Yes.
In fact, that's what Scott Pringle specifically told me when I spoke with him. They went to bid. Maybe they had an estimate from, initially had an estimate, that's the way they came up with the $1.2 million, that was 5 years ago.
We emailed
It's an
that.
estimate prepared by Colliers Engineering and Design, CED. As far as whether this went out to bid, I that's not.
The email that Jason showed me, that Scott Pringle sent him, said the bid came in at 3.4 million, and we only have $1 million. I'm sure it said bid on that, in that
You
email.
can read that, but right now I'm looking at a document that says estimate by DEC
And had an estimate, obviously, and then the bids came in higher, that's.
Well, and that could have been the case too.
Kind of like the rail trail bridge.
No, it's not like that at all.
Oh,
But that's where we stand. So we have an estimate, we have a breakdown of what the costs are. They had $1 million to spend and 3 million is needed. Those are the basic facts. I don't think that's worth a lot of people's trip to town hall or wherever for a meeting about the dam. We have to continue to look at our options and then have some options to present. And if we're going to have a public meeting on this, as you suggest.
There's no need for the public to convince us we have to save it. We all agree we've got to save it. We need a plan to.
Can you go on record saying that then? For the resolution?
We just did. This is a public meeting. There are notes being taken. Tom, thanks, but we don't need a resolution to tell us what to do here. We just don't.
No, I know.
I appreciate the suggestion. Anne Marie, did you have comments to make?
Did you want us to come up there?
Yes, please.
Yeah, the people online have said they can't hear when people aren't at the mic.
Sure.
Is the volume okay?
Excellent.
Cassie, you have your hand up?
No, I think that's the cursor. It's not the same thing.
So. All right, thank you for the citizens' privilege this evening. I'm happy to see that a no finding audit was conducted. Was a conflict of interest disclosure and review part of that audit? Is the town comfortable indicating?
Conflict interest when?
I know that I filled one out.
For the audit?
No.
I don't know if it was for the audit or not. I'd have to go back and check my email.
Okay.
I know I had to fill one out recently.
Okay. I have a question about Dryden Fiber. I heard Mr. McCarr tonight and Mr. Lamb underscoring that this was a municipal entity and how unique that is unique. Also the rapid increase in the number of contracts. And it made me think that maybe I don't fully understand what that means. Is the town indemnified with Dryden from any accidents that may happen with Dryden Fiber or and our assets, the town assets in play, if anything happens with the ISP in all of these construction projects?
Is the project insured? Is that what you're-
Because it's not like a private entity, and it seems like this is an endeavor from the municipality itself. And what I'm hearing from you, Mr. McCarr, is that that's unique. I'm just wondering if the town is indemnified from any harm because is that considered a public entity? Like if there's a lawsuit against them, is that a lawsuit against the town or your assets protected?
You'd have to be more specific about what sort of lawsuit you're talking about.
So if it was a private company, there was a lawsuit, the lawsuit would be against the private company. This doesn't seem to be a private company. So is a lawsuit, like if there's an accident that happens, if there's an insurance claim, because Dryden Fiber, it seems to be a municipal internet service provider. Does that then mean that the town is the one that's sued or protected? Are we protected and indemnified from a lawsuit in that case?
The town.
So, okay,
But if,
And so the same insurance that protects anything else that the town protects.
Okay.
Fiber.
thank
we
you.
have outside contractors and if something happened with the outside contractor, that would be under their insurance. So,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, I'm just,
You're talking about if they have an accident.
right, if
Driving
the
here.
contractor has an accident, yeah.
Thanks. Lastly, I would say I do appreciate what a position of public service means. And we talked a lot about trust tonight. I would ask, or I would share that feedback from constituents should not be viewed as inconveniences to run over or dismiss. And it's almost as if you think us arrogant for participating respectfully in a democratic process if we have a diversity of opinions that may be different from your own. The people who do hold you to that standard. And trust isn't dictated. When you say, look at the record, and that should stand on its own, but the record is actually skewering the possibility of trust, in my opinion, and I wanted to share that. Trust is mutual, and in your case, it is by the consent of the governed. Maybe you're not seeing what I see, but tonight, and I wasn't going to actually speak tonight, I hadn't signed up initially. It seemed to me that the board treated tonight's public hearing as a fait accompli. When Mr. Lamb, you indicated the board was voting on setting aside the New York tax levy limit, and you started moving on to the announcements, which was the next order of business. That's on the record. The four of you here tonight, we're going to move to the next item until a member of the audience, actually, I think it was Mr. Bailey, asked you down under the public hearing. He said something like, are we having a public hearing? Is that it? Did we get a discussion? And that did that. Does anybody have any questions? I would ask you to consider that type of exchange, that type of interaction is a demonstration that a public hearing is performative and it's improper to treat them. They're serious, like the opinions matter, whether or not. It's not the first time I've seen this happen. I felt this way in a public hearing, and I just ask you to consider how that affects the people. Thanks.
But to say that wasn't the only hiccup in my management of the agenda tonight. You might have noticed I was corrected a couple times because I don't run these meetings on a regular basis. So it was not intentional. And as soon as it was flagged, just like I missed Rick Young, I said, oh, we got to follow the proper, protocols. And the hearing was opened. It was very formally and obviously opened. Nobody had raised their hand, but when I went to close, Lauren flagged, you got to close the public hearing. That's when we were reminded to make sure that anyone had any comments. So we allowed a full set of comments. I'm cautioning against reading too much into that.
I'm telling you what happened. So jump on and tell constituents and said, hey, I have a chance to speak. That wasn't, are we done, can we close? That was, hey, town board, can you actually have the public, which is required of you? And this is not the first time that you personally have dismissive remarks.
I think you're making your point, you're reading into it. Nothing.
Don't insult me by telling me something. I'm telling you, you did on the record, and you've done the record before, and the record stands for itself.
When has it happened before?
Spring last for policing said, doing this tonight before the decision. That's a violation. That is not disputed hearing. You know that. You proceed with the decision on the fire contracts when it was advertised, and you said during that meeting, you can shake your head. You're to my comments. I think it's interpreting. The record is clear.
That you want to have a confrontation.
Don't have a confrontation with you. I'm asking to understand that action does to the people in the room. A member of the public saying, how can we talk in a public hearing? That's I'm asking you to consider that if you do, and as a member of the public. To that.
We kept that hearing open till everybody with something that they got a check.
She's not open it until somebody you want to still. That's what I'm saying.
And I apologize for
I don't-
the management of that. Like I said, I don't do this on a regular basis. But it
That wasn't defensive. I'm just telling you, trust is built. Thank you.
all right. We are adjourned.
That's